You know what the first thing we discover about Jesus Christ when we listen to other people talk about him in the Gospel by Mark? The people that rubbed shoulders with Jesus Christ, the people that knew him personally, the people that met him, that talked with him, that walked with him, that ate with him, that got to know him on an intimate personal level, they were overwhelmingly aware that he was greater than the greatest of all humans, that he was not merely a man, but he was divine. You know, the Bible teaches us Jesus Christ is divine. And if we listen to the voices of those closest to Jesus, we see that Jesus Christ, when he lived and walked on earth, there was no doubt. In fact, if you study closely, and as we go through, you'll see this. The Pharisees and Sadducees never once denied any miracle Jesus did. They didn't say he didn't do them. They just didn't like him and wanted to get rid of him. They didn't say he was a fake. They didn't say that he didn't raise the dead. They didn't say he didn't heal. They didn't say he didn't walk on water. They didn't say that he couldn't change stuff, multiply bread and change water into wine. What they said is, we don't want him around here because the light is too bright and we like the darkness rather than light. And so, first of all, in verse 7, the first thing we notice about his reputation is that others said that he was divine. Look at verse 24. Because we have another testimony, and chapter 1, verse 24 has the second of our little studies about how to see Christ through his reputation, what others said. And this is fascinating. I'll start up in 21 so we don't pull it out of context. Then they went into Capernaum, little town on the shore of the Sea of Galilee, and immediately on the Sabbath he entered the synagogue and taught. Jesus always went to where the people were, and they gathered to look at the scriptures, and he went there to those willing minds and began to teach them. And they were astonished at his teaching. Usually the rabbinic teaching was just all of them quoting each other, and they'd say, well, Rabbi so-and-so said this, and Rabbi so-and-so said that, and Rabbi so-and-so said this, and they just stopped there. And it really wasn't the Bible being taught. It was just a collection of opinions and traditions and a lot of different concoctions that they'd had. They made all these rules up. But Jesus came in and he explained to them what the Bible meant, and they were astonished. For he taught them as one, verse 22, having authority, not as the scribes. And now there was a man in their synagogue with an unclean spirit. Verse 23. Now, every time we go to Israel, we were just there a few weeks ago, I always think of this, because the way the Capernaum synagogue sets, the Sea of Galilee is out the door, and the entrance is right here. And so if you're standing at the entrance, you're looking, or if you're teaching, you're looking straight out at the water. And so everybody had their backs to the door, and they were looking to the front, where Jesus was up in the front, and he would sit down and would teach the scriptures. They would read from the scroll, and the teacher always sat, and so he sat down. And while he was sitting and everybody was intently listening to him, someone comes in the back door. And if you know anything about Capernaum, it's right on the shore, but there are these hills around with caves, and there were many people that lived in the caves that were demonized. And one of these demonized people, it says in verse 23, who had an unclean spirit, comes stumbling into the service. And he walks in the back door. And remember, demons are not omniscient. Neither are they omnipresent. And so he just happened to be inhabiting that body of that person at that time, or maybe there were several of them, and was impelling this man to go in there. And as this demonized man walks in, the demon, looking out his eyes, looks up front and goes, "Oh no, look who I just ran into." And look what he says. This is fascinating. He cried out, saying in verse 24, now, this is Christ's reputation. This is what someone else is saying about him. This is the testimony from the other side. This is a testimony from the occult. This is a testimony from the demon world. This is a testimony from the spirits. The word demon means intelligence. Demons are thousands of years old. They are incredibly intelligent. Because they've existed so long, they are an intelligent spirit. In fact, the only thing demon means is that it's a spirit of intelligence. They're very smart. This very smart creature inhabiting a human body starts screaming. The word cried out, kradzo, means that it wasn't, one whimper like this morning in one of the services, some baby let out one little, ah! It wasn't that. It was a very loud screaming. And it isn't, and what's neat about Greek, by the way, in the Hebrew language, the tenses, it's very hard to tell whether something happened in the past once or never or just in the present or whatever. Hebrew is very vague. It's an Oriental language. Greek is very precise. You can tell in the Greek language if something's going to happen in the future once or many times, if it's happening in the present once or continuously, whether it happened in a singular time in the past or a few times in the past, or if it continues from the past to the future. There are so many tenses of Greek, it almost kills you to memorize them all. This tense is that he kept on screaming. Now, everybody's got their back to the door looking at Jesus. Jesus is astonishing them with his teaching, and all of a sudden, this... And if you've ever seen a demon-possessed man, or person, that is overwhelming. Because their eyes bulge out, their faces contort into shapes that humans don't usually ever get to make, and their voices are a very raspy, horrible sound. And so this, almost like a walking monster, starts just screaming, and his face is contorted, and his eyes are bugging out, and he's walking toward the front of the service, and everybody's already astonished. And here comes this person they were afraid of anyway. They didn't like demonized people. And listen to what he's saying. Let us, as in multiple demons, alone. What have we to do with you, Jesus of Nazareth? Now, do you think Jesus was wearing a name tag? I mean, see, the demons, they see the Spirit. See, that's what's so amazing. When the 7 sons of Sceva came to cast out the demon, and this demonized person in the book of Acts, the demon looked at the 7 sons of Sceva and said, Jesus I know and Paul I know, who are you? That demon knew that they were powerless and impotent before him, and so that demon beat them up and sent them out bleeding and their clothes stripped off. This demon looked through with spiritual eyes at Jesus Christ and saw him, knew exactly who he was,